You know what really grinds my gears? Walking into my office every single day and dealing with the same outdated nonsense that's been around since the 1990s. Meanwhile, Japan has figured out how to make work actually enjoyable. I'm dead serious. After researching Japanese office culture, I found 14 things that are so genius, so ridiculously practical that every office on the planet needs them yesterday. And hey, if you're as obsessed with smart innovations as I am, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now because we're about to blow your mind with some serious workplace wizardry. Let's kick things off with nap pods. Yeah, you heard me right. Actual sleeping pods right there in the office. Japanese companies realized something that Western offices refuse to admit. Humans need sleep, and especially during that brutal afternoon slump. These aren't just chairs you awkwardly doze off in during meetings. We're talking legitimate capsule beds with privacy curtains, adjustable lighting, and sometimes even built-in alarms to wake you up after exactly 20 minutes. The science backs this up completely. A power nap boosts productivity, improves memory, and reduces stress. But what do most offices do instead? They shame you for being tired and expect you to chug your fifth coffee while pretending to look busy. Japanese companies literally schedule nap time into the workday because they understand that a well-rested employee is worth 10 exhausted zombies staring blankly at spreadsheets. Imagine rolling into a cozy pod after lunch, catching some quality Z's, and coming back to your desk actually refreshed instead of fighting to keep your eyes open. That's not lazy, that's brilliant. Next up, let's talk about office slippers. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. In Japanese offices, everyone switches from their outdoor shoes to indoor slippers the moment they arrive. This isn't just about keeping floors clean, though that's a nice bonus. It's about the psychological shift from outside chaos to work mode. Your brain literally registers the change. Plus, let's be honest, wearing uncomfortable dress shoes or heels for 8 hours straight is basically torture. Japanese office slippers are comfortable, clean, and they create this relaxed atmosphere that somehow doesn't kill professionalism. You're telling me you wouldn't be happier padding around in soft slippers instead of those shoes that pinch your toes all day? Some offices even provide spa-quality slippers that feel like you're walking on clouds. It's such a simple thing, but it makes a massive difference in daily comfort. And when you're comfortable, you work better. It's not rocket science, it's basic human logic. Standing desks that actually move on their own. Hold up, I know standing desks exist everywhere now, but Japanese offices took it to the next level with automated desks that remind you to stand and adjust themselves throughout the day. These smart desks track how long you've been sitting and gradually raise themselves to standing height. Some even sync with your calendar and adjust based on your meeting schedule. Now, the problem with regular standing desks is that people get lazy and never actually adjust them. You set it once, maybe twice, and then it stays in one position forever. These automated Japanese desks remove that friction entirely. They're programmed to optimize your health without you having to think about it. Back pain, neck strain, all those repetitive stress injuries we accept as normal. Japanese offices are engineering them out of existence while we're still arguing about whether Karen can have a yoga ball chair. Communal tea stations that are actually incredible. Forget your sad break room with stale coffee and a microwave that hasn't been cleaned since 2009. Japanese offices have legitimate tea stations with high-quality green tea, matcha, premium coffee, and sometimes even a staff member dedicated to preparing drinks properly. This isn't just about beverages. It's a designated social space that encourages micro breaks and casual conversations between departments. Those spontaneous hallway chats where brilliant ideas happen? Japanese offices architect them on purpose. The tea station becomes this natural gathering point where you can decompress for 5 minutes, chat with colleagues you wouldn't normally interact with, and return to work mentally refreshed. Plus, the quality of the drinks actually matters. Good matcha has legit health benefits and provides sustained energy without the coffee crash. When companies invest in quality refreshments, they're sending a message that employee well-being matters. It's a small gesture that creates massive goodwill. Designated quiet zones that are sacred. Open offices are the worst invention in modern workplace history. Fight me on this. Japanese companies recognized this problem and created soundproof quiet zones specifically for deep focus work. These aren't just empty conference rooms you have to book 3 weeks in advance. They're always available spaces with rules enforced like library silence. No phones, no conversations, just pure concentration. Neuroscience proves that constant interruptions destroy productivity. Every time someone taps your shoulder or a loud conversation breaks out nearby, it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain focus. Japanese quiet zones eliminate this productivity killer completely. You need to hammer out a complex project? Head to the quiet zone where silence is guaranteed. The best part is how seriously these rules are enforced. In Western offices, someone always ruins quiet spaces by taking a phone call or having a whispered conversation that's somehow louder than shouting. Japanese office culture respects the quiet zone like sacred ground. Everyone benefits because everyone participates in maintaining the environment. Outdoor terraces and rooftop gardens. Japanese offices, especially in dense cities like Tokyo, incorporate green spaces directly into the building design. We're not talking about a sad potted plant in the corner. These are legitimate gardens with seating areas where employees can take breaks surrounded by actual nature. The mental health benefits are off the charts. Studies show that even brief exposure to greenery reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and improves mood. Japanese companies build this into the physical office because they understand that humans aren't designed to sit under fluorescent lights staring at screens all day. A 10-minute break in a rooftop garden does more for your mental state than scrolling through social media for an hour. Plus, these spaces become natural spots for walking meetings or casual brainstorming sessions. Fresh air and sunlight aren't luxuries, they're basic human needs. Yet most offices trap people in windowless caves and wonder why everyone's depressed and burned out. Japanese offices literally elevate their employees by giving them access to sky gardens that make work feel less like prison. Flexible work pods for privacy. Sometimes you need to make a phone call, have a one-on-one conversation, or just escape the chaos for a minute. Japanese offices install these small soundproof pods throughout the workspace. They're like tiny rooms that fit 1 or 2 people, fully enclosed with ventilation, lighting, and often a small desk. You can pop in whenever you need privacy without booking a conference room or hiding in a bathroom stall like some kind of corporate fugitive. These pods are genius because they solve the privacy problem that open offices create without reverting to the isolated cubicle farms of the past. They're available on demand, completely private, and give employees control over their environment. Need to take a personal call? WorkPod. Need to cry about a difficult client? WorkPod. Need 15 minutes of complete isolation because humans require solitude sometimes? WorkPod. Now, it's such an elegant solution to a problem that Western offices just ignore while pretending open floor plans are innovative. Seriously good cafeterias with subsidized meals. Japanese companies often provide full cafeterias with restaurant-quality food at heavily subsidized prices. We're talking balanced meals with protein, vegetables, and rice for maybe $3 or $4. Compare that to most office situations where you either pack a sad desk lunch, spend $15 on mediocre takeout, or skip meals entirely because who has time? When companies feed their employees well, productivity skyrockets. You're not wasting mental energy figuring out lunch. You're not leaving the building and losing momentum. You're not experiencing that post-fast food coma that kills your afternoon. But you're eating nutritious food that actually fuels your brain, and you're doing it alongside colleagues, which builds team cohesion. The Japanese understand that food is culture, and bringing people together over quality meals strengthens workplace relationships. Meanwhile, most Western offices consider it a perk if there's a vending machine that doesn't eat your money half the time. Bike parking and shower facilities. Japanese offices encourage employees to bike to work by providing secure bike parking and legitimate shower facilities with lockers. This seems basic, but most offices make it nearly impossible to commute actively. Where do you put your bike? Where do you clean up? Japanese companies remove these barriers because they want healthier employees. Biking to work improves cardiovascular health, reduces stress, and eliminates the soul-crushing experience of sitting in traffic or cramming into packed trains. The shower facilities aren't afterthoughts either. They're clean, private, well-maintained spaces that make it actually pleasant to freshen up before starting your day. Some offices even provide towel service. When you make healthy choices convenient, people make them. When you create obstacles, people give up and drive. It's environmental psychology at work. Japanese offices design their spaces to encourage the behaviors that benefit both employees and the company. Adjustable lighting that mimics natural daylight. Most offices blast everyone with harsh fluorescent lighting that causes headaches, eye strain, and disrupts circadian rhythms. Japanese offices use smart lighting systems that adjust color temperature and brightness throughout the day to match natural sunlight patterns. Cooler blue-toned light in the morning promotes alertness. Warmer tones in the afternoon reduce eye strain and help people wind down naturally. This isn't just aesthetic, it's biological. Our bodies respond to light cues, and when artificial lighting fights against our natural rhythms, we feel tired, irritable, and unfocused. Japanese offices work with human biology instead of against it. Some systems even adjust based on individual preferences or the type of work being done. Need bright light for detailed work? Done. Prefer softer lighting for creative brainstorming? Adjusted. Meanwhile, most offices haven't changed their lighting since installation day and wonder why everyone looks like exhausted zombies by 2 in the afternoon. Office libraries and reading rooms. Here's something wild. Some Japanese companies maintain actual libraries within the office. Not just a bookshelf with outdated management books nobody reads, but curated collections of industry resources, professional development materials, and even fiction for mental breaks. These spaces encourage continuous learning and provide a quiet alternative to your desk. The message is clear: we value knowledge and growth. Employees can check out books, spend time reading during breaks, or use the space for quiet reflection. In a world where everything's digital and everyone's eyes hurt from screens, having physical books and a calm reading environment is genuinely radical. It creates a culture of learning and gives people permission to slow down and think deeply. Compare that to offices where any moment not spent in front of your computer feels like slacking. Japanese companies recognize that learning happens in many forms, and that creating space for it benefits everyone. Ergonomic everything, and I mean everything. Japanese offices obsess over ergonomics in ways that put everyone else to shame. We're not just talking about decent chairs. Every single element is considered. Keyboard angles, monitor heights, desk depths, footrests, wrist supports, mouse positioning. They bring in ergonomic specialists to optimize individual workstations. This prevents injuries, reduces fatigue, and shows employees that their physical well-being matters. Repetitive strain injuries cost companies millions in lost productivity and medical claims, yet most offices hand you a basic chair and desk and call it a day. Japanese companies invest upfront in proper equipment because they know it pays off long-term. When your body isn't fighting against your workspace, you can focus on actual work. Revolutionary concept, right? Some Japanese offices even offer regular ergonomic assessments, where specialists check your setup and make adjustments. It's preventative care built into the workplace. Seasonal decorations and cultural celebrations. Japanese offices transform their spaces seasonally with decorations, plants, and cultural elements that mark the passage of time. Cherry blossoms in spring, festival decorations in summer, autumn leaves, winter themes. This creates variety and gives people something to look forward to. It sounds simple, but most offices look identical every single day of the year. That monotony is soul-crushing. When your environment changes with the seasons, it creates natural rhythms and celebrations that break up the routine. Japanese offices also recognize cultural festivals and holidays with special events, foods, or decorations. This builds community and gives everyone shared experiences beyond just work deliverables. It makes the office feel like a place where humans gather, not just a productivity factory. The psychological impact of environmental variety is real. Our brains crave novelty, and seasonal changes provide that in a structured, predictable way. Seriously enforced work-life boundaries. Here's the big one. Japanese offices, especially newer companies, learning from past mistakes, enforce actual work-life boundaries. This includes systems that literally shut down computers at a certain time, managers who encourage people to leave on time, and cultural shifts away from the toxic overwork expectations of the past. Some offices have lights that automatically dim and announce that the workday is ending. You can't just stay chained to your desk forever, because the building itself pushes you out. They've recognized that the old way of working people to death is unsustainable and counterproductive. Fresh, rested employees who have lives outside work are more creative, more engaged, and more loyal. Western offices love to talk about work-life balance while emailing you at midnight and expecting responses. Japanese companies are actually engineering it into their systems. When leadership models healthy boundaries and creates structures that support them, the entire culture shifts. Imagine an office where staying late is discouraged, where taking your vacation days is expected, where your time outside work is actually respected. That's not fantasy, that's forward-thinking Japanese companies right now. So there you have it. 14 genuinely brilliant ideas that Japanese offices have figured out while the rest of the world is still using the same tired playbook from decades ago. Nap pods for actual rest. Slippers for comfort. Smart standing desks that move themselves. Premium tea stations that build community. Sacred quiet zones for focus. Rooftop gardens for mental health. Privacy pods for flexibility. Subsidized quality cafeterias. Bike facilities and showers. Circadian lighting systems. Office libraries for learning. Obsessive ergonomic design. Seasonal environments that change and celebrate. And enforced boundaries that respect human limits. Every single one of these makes perfect sense, costs less than you'd think, and creates happier, healthier, more productive employees. Yet most offices will read this list and change absolutely nothing because we're weirdly attached to making work miserable. If you're an office manager, business owner, or anyone with influence over workplace design, steal these ideas immediately. Your employees will thank you, your productivity will increase, and you might actually create a place where people don't dread showing up every morning. And if you're just someone who loves learning about smarter ways to live and work, so make sure you're subscribed because we're always finding innovations that make you wonder why everyone else is still doing things the hard way. The future of work is already here, it's just not evenly distributed yet. Let's change that. Now let me take this a step further because there's something deeper happening here that deserves attention. When you really study Japanese workplace culture, you realize it's not just about individual perks or amenities. It's about a fundamental philosophy that human beings matter more than quarterly earnings reports. That sounds obvious, but it's genuinely revolutionary in how most corporations operate. The Japanese approach recognizes that when you invest in your people's physical comfort, mental health, and overall well-being, everything else follows naturally. Productivity increases. Right? Innovation flourishes, employee retention skyrockets, and surprisingly, the company actually makes more money. It's this elegant cycle where taking care of people and achieving business success aren't opposing forces. They're deeply interconnected. Think about what we've covered here and the psychological principles underlying each element. The nap pods aren't just about sleep, they're about acknowledging that human bodies have natural rhythms and energy cycles. The slippers aren't just about cleanliness, they're about creating psychological transitions that help people mentally shift gears. The quiet zones aren't just about reducing noise, they're about respecting the cognitive science of deep work and concentration. Every single element we discussed works because it's built on understanding how humans actually function, not on some outdated industrial revolution assumption that people are interchangeable machines you can push to their limits. Japanese companies have decided to work with human nature instead of against it, and that's the real innovation here. What's particularly fascinating is how these practices have emerged from the Japanese concept of company loyalty and long-term thinking. In a culture where people might work for the same organization for decades, there's genuine incentive to create an environment people actually want to spend time in. It's not just extracting maximum labor and moving on. It's building a place where people can spend meaningful portions of their lives. That shift in perspective changes everything about how you design and manage a workplace. But when you know you're going to work with the same people for the next 20 or 30 years, Treating them well becomes enlightened self-interest, not charity. What's equally important to understand is that many of these innovations came from learning hard lessons. Japan's lost decade of the 1990s and early 2000s taught companies that the old way of working people to death and expecting absolute loyalty wasn't sustainable. Burnout, health problems, declining productivity, and generational shifts made companies rethink their approach. So many of these practices were born from recognizing what wasn't working and deliberately choosing a different path. The newer Japanese companies especially have absorbed these lessons and built them into their DNA from day one. They're not retrofitting enlightened practices onto an old system. They're designing from the ground up with human flourishing as a core principle. Here's something else worth considering. The cost of implementing these changes is often significantly lower than the cost of not implementing them. Think about turnover and recruitment. Finding and training new employees is expensive. When your office environment is genuinely better than competitors, people stay longer. That saves massive amounts of money. Think about healthcare costs and sick days. When you reduce stress, encourage movement, and support mental health, you get fewer medical claims and less absenteeism. Think about productivity. When people aren't exhausted, stressed, and uncomfortable, they accomplish more in less time. The ROI on these investments is real and measurable. So most office managers just haven't done the math because they're too busy trying to save money on coffee supplies while burning out staff. The really mind-bending part is that many of these innovations seem expensive at first glance, but they're actually cheaper than the alternative. A nap pod might cost a few $1,000s, but prevents the medical costs of burnout-related illnesses, which cost hundreds of thousands. Subsidized quality food might cost money up front, but eliminates lost productivity from poor nutrition and mood crashes. Proper ergonomic setup prevents repetitive strain injuries that lead to workers' comp claims and medical expenses. It's not that Japanese companies are richer or more generous, they're just thinking about costs more comprehensively. They're not just looking at immediate expenses, thus they're calculating total cost of ownership, including human factors that most companies ignore. Now here's where it gets really important. You don't have to work for a Japanese company to benefit from these ideas. If you're in an office, you can advocate for changes. If you're managing a team, you can implement improvements in your sphere of influence. Start small if necessary. Can't install nap pods? Maybe you can create a quiet space. Can't redesign the lighting system? You can encourage people to take actual breaks and step outside. Can't change the cafeteria? You can build better team meals into your culture. Can't do everything at once? Start with one or two things that address the biggest pain points for your team. Real change happens incrementally, and sometimes it just takes one person caring enough to try something different. If you're in a position of real influence in your organization, use this knowledge strategically. Propose these changes not as nice-to-haves, but as strategic investments in your most valuable asset, which is your people. Gather data, show examples, demonstrate the ROI. Many of these ideas have research backing them up. Bring that data to your leadership. Sometimes organizations don't change because nobody's asked them to change in the right way. Frame these improvements as business solutions, not just perks. A standing desk isn't a luxury, it's an ergonomic solution that prevents injury and increases productivity. A quiet zone isn't a perk, it's a cognitive strategy that enhances focus work. When you present these through a business lens, resistance decreases dramatically. What I want to emphasize is that the Japanese approach represents a genuine shift in how we think about work and what we owe the people who contribute their time and talents to our organizations. Work consumes roughly a third of our adult lives. That's enormous. We spend more waking hours at work than we do with family and friends for most people. That means the quality of our work environment profoundly affects our overall quality of life and mental health. When companies treat that responsibility lightly, they're essentially saying your well-being doesn't matter to us beyond what we can extract from you. Japanese companies that embrace these practices are saying something different. They're saying we recognize you're human, we understand you have needs, and we're going to design our workplace around supporting you because you matter. This philosophy extends beyond just the physical space, too. It includes psychological safety, opportunities for growth, respect from leadership, and genuine community. The nap pods and tea stations and quiet zones are just physical manifestations of a deeper commitment to treating employees as whole people. That's what really distinguishes the best Japanese workplaces from the mediocre ones trying to coast on traditional practices. They've integrated human-centered design into everything they do, from how decisions are made to how feedback is given to how success is celebrated. These companies have decided that the best business outcomes come from putting people first, and they've structured everything accordingly. As we wrap this up, I want to emphasize that the future of work globally will likely move in this direction, whether companies are ready or not. Younger generations are increasingly unwilling to sacrifice their health and well-being for work. Top talent has choices about where they work, and they're choosing organizations that respect them. Companies that cling to outdated practices will find themselves unable to attract and retain the best people. The organizations that thrive in the coming years will be the ones that figure out how to create workplaces where people actually want to be. That's not some utopian fantasy, it's practical business strategy. Japanese companies are showing us what that looks like, and the rest of the world is slowly catching up. Thank you so much for diving deep into this topic with me. Now, if you found these insights valuable and you're excited about smarter ways to work and live, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel because we're constantly exploring innovations that challenge conventional wisdom and show us better ways forward. There's so much fascinating stuff happening around workplace design, productivity science, and human-centered innovation that most people never hear about. By subscribing, you'll stay in the loop, and you'll be ahead of the curve as these practices start spreading. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these Japanese office practices you wish existed where you work. I read every comment, and I genuinely love hearing what resonates with people. Until next time, keep questioning why we do things the way we do them and stay curious about better possibilities.